This is my review of Polk Audio's XT15 bookshelf speakers. They're one of Polk Audio's newest offerings in the budget bookshelf category of speakers. They feature a 5 1/4 inch mid-bass driver and a 1 inch Terraline tweeter. The MSRP for these speakers is $150 a pair. They also feature 5-way nickel binding posts. Polk claims a frequency response of 48 Hz to 40 kHz. These speakers can come with a nice gray charcoal grill that's not magnetic. It uses traditional holes to put the speaker grill on. But honestly, this speaker is nice enough that I would feel absolutely no reservations to keep the bare drivers out. These speakers replaced Polk's old T15s, which were similar to these in driver size, but they had the port in the front. Honestly, this is a huge upgrade in the aesthetics department. So I should probably talk about amplification needs. These speakers are rated at 86 decibels, which is a little on the low side, but a lot of bookshelf speakers kind of have low sensitivity. I drove them with I didn't find them very hard to drive, but I think Polk recommends at least a 30 watt per channel amplifier, and I probably would agree with that. I did need to push them a little hard, put the volume up a little louder than I would with my Triton 7s. I was able to drive them very easily with my Macintosh stereo, which obviously it pumps out 105 watts per channel. With my Macintosh setup, I was able to drive these to incredibly uncomfortable volumes where I measured, I was approaching 90 decibels in the back of my room. I also listened to them on my Onkyo RZ830 and it drove them with no issues whatsoever. I think these speakers would perform very well in a home theater setting. You're obviously going to want to pair them with a sub. They could work really well as front main speakers, or you can upgrade to the XT60 or XT70 forthcoming tower speakers that will be released soon. If you pair them with voice match them with the XT30 center channel, you can get 2 pairs of these. Use 2 for surrounds and use 2 for your front main speakers. If you do that and pair it with a really decent subwoofer, I honestly think these would make a really good home theater speaker. So I took some measurements of these speakers and I focused mostly on the bass response, because usually with a bookshelf speaker you want to find out whether or not you're going to need a separate subwoofer. I honestly think that these would do fine without them. If you use them as your front, left and right speakers, I think you can use them as a good stereo pair without a sub. According to my measurements, these speakers played about 43 Hz in my room, which exceeds what Polk Audio claims. They play cleanly. I did notice that they were a touch boomy when a little too close to the wall, but I pulled them out about 14 inches away from the wall. So if you can, pull them out a little. Try to get them as far from the wall as you can. This is the bass response for the XT15s. This null exists in my room no matter what. I've measured many different speakers and I always have this here. So this is a room problem that I have. As you can see, there's a solid bass throughout pretty much, and it peaks at about solid output about 45 Hz. Pretty good until like 42-ish, 43 Hz. And then after that it goes pretty low. You get another little bump at 30 Hz, but that's not that much output at that point. But I would say solid output to about 42, 43 Hz. I took some measurements of the Jamo S 801 bookshelf speakers. I'm actually doing a review on those as well. And they were the only bookshelf speakers I had, so that's what I used to compare them to. But they are similarly priced. They're going for about $140 a pair. I took measurements of those, and those fall flat at about 80 Hz. So these far exceed that. And again, for those speakers for the Jamo speakers, you would definitely need a sub. These you could probably get away without it, unless you're using them in a home theater setting. So I listened to these speakers exclusively for about a week in my room, and I listened to different albums ranging from rock to jazz mostly. I should mention that as far as my listening, I think these are some great little speakers to listen to a variety of different kinds of music. I did notice that they did like, clean, well-recorded tracks. They played albums like Weezer's OK Human. It's a very well-mastered album, and it paired very well with these speakers. These speakers are a little on the bright side, but not in any harsh kind of way. I did find them a little fatiguing at higher volumes. I did find the bass was present and plentiful. Given their size, that's a big plus. These speakers had no issue filling my 20 by 36 foot rec room with great sound. You can push these speakers very loudly. You know, again, at higher volumes, they lose a little bit of definition at higher volumes, in my opinion. It could be my room, but that's what I did notice. And I found these speakers sounded best when I towed them in about 5 to 6 degrees. So with these speakers, I say that there is somewhat of a sweet spot. You kind of want to be right in the middle. I guess towing them in, you lose a little bit of the sound stage, but I think it's worth it. You get slightly better results. If you can't do it, it's not a big deal because they still sound great. But I think you can get a little more detail out of them when you tow them in a bit. So my final takeaways for the Polk Audio XT15s is I think Polk Audio knocked it out of the park with these. I think given the price, $150 a pair, it'd be hard to beat. I think it sets a new bar for budget speakers at this price range. They offer just enough bass to listen to them without a subwoofer. Now let me get this straight, this is not a reference speaker. If you're expecting to get reference quality sound of these speakers, you're probably looking at the wrong set of speakers. But if you're in the market for a really good set of budget bookshelf speakers, I don't think you can go wrong with these. The quality of the sound reproduction that you get from these speakers at this price range is something to applaud. These speakers exceeded my expectations and they'll probably exceed yours too, so I'm going to highly recommend these speakers. If you're interested in these speakers, I have a link below. I'll post a link below so you can get yourself a pair of these again. If this is the first time you're watching my channel, welcome, it's good to have you, and if you found this video informative, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And if you have any questions about the speakers, please leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. And I'll see you in the next one.